welcome to Conversations from the Barn at Everwood Farmstead. These are casual chats with visiting artists, creaky barn, bugs, and all. Enjoy. Hey, welcome to Conversations from the Barn. This is Bill, and I'm here with Chris and Warren, and this week's special guests, Cori and Tori. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, happy to be here.
Thank you so much for having us in the barn.
So you two, friends, collaborators for many years, made the decision to come on out to Little Peanut, Glenwood City. Talk about that decision.
Well, okay, I can start about the our retreat.
Yeah, sure.
Process. So, hi everyone. My name is Tori Hong. I'm a freelance illustrator pursuing my MFA in illustration, and yeah, happy to be here with my collaborator Cori Nakamura Lin. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Cori. I use she/her pronouns. I'm a illustrator, visual artist, new basket maker, community organizer, and art activist in Chicago. And yeah, happy to be here as someone who is lived in the Midwest my whole life, and born in Illinois area, spent time in Wisconsin and Minnesota. It's very nice to be back here and to be returning to the Driftless, which is an area that I have never spent time in before. And Tori will talk about our collaboration, but one reason that we did want to be here is because we both have deep roots to the Midwest. And I spent time in Wisconsin before, so I think that is getting to return to this land as artists and in our relationship was one thing that was appealing about Everwood.
Yeah.
Does it feel like home to you? Is there a quality of home here?
Yeah. So I was. This is Tori. I was born and raised in the Twin Cities metro area, and so actually part of the trip. We both had like a time in Minneapolis right before coming to Everwood, and part of my return back to Minneapolis was in part to grieve a beloved friend. Their name is Paige Coletti, and he is someone that I considered a friend, an ex, a lover, queer family, and so it was part of my process. It's been 6 months since they passed away from cancer. Actually, they passed away from COVID-19, and they had cancer, which obviously didn't make it easy to recover. So
sorry.
Really sad. Paige is 33, a Scorpio, an incredible artist. They brought a self-portrait that they did.
Wow.
Pass it around if you want. But yeah, so like when I was coming back to Minneapolis, it was very much like, oh, this is where I grew up as like a young queer adult, Asian American adult who's from the Midwest. It's a really different and difficult place to be, I think, queer and Asian American. And so but going back to Minneapolis really did feel like home. Like I've done a lot of amazing things there with a lot of amazing people. I've been messy there in true queer fashion, and like to go back and return and like have people that still like remember me or know me or love me, while also grieving, someone who was such a big part of my time there. Yeah, it felt like home. Yeah.
Is this the first time the two of you have done an experience like this together?
No, it is not. So in 2021, actually, the two of us were already long-distance best friends. We had met in Minneapolis back in like 2016, 2017. Tori slid into my DMs, and we had met up for boba, and very quickly just like found so many alignments between us as both being mixed Asian artists and community organizers, illustrators too at the time, and I was not yet queer at that time. But yes, but there was.
But I knew.
There was quite a lot.
We have to usher each other in.
Yes.
I needed queer relationships to show me, I guess, like what the bounds of myself truly was, and very quickly started collaborating with each other, and so we became friends and did projects, built community with each other in the Twin Cities for several years. But then I had moved back home to Chicago around 2019, and so we had been getting closer and closer, I think that's when we started talking about ourselves as being the Oris and starting to helix around each other as artists, because we were both kind of working in illustrator paid gig workspace, working with a lot of similar clients who are working in movement and justice space, or people who are wanting to make change in the world. So we were doing that, but also then developing our identities as artists, and I would say really like cultural workers. In our different varying communities. And so because of all of those intersections, we were really just like striving and like craving time to spend to work together. So we created the Ori retreat, where we spent time at my sister's Jamie's house, who has a big garden. And so we had kind of our first iteration of us being like, wow, we have this time where we get to spend in a house together, where we have all of this like garden and the outdoors and these resources that both of us didn't have, kind of like cramped up in these like small apartments in the Bay Area, where you had then moved, or no, you had not yet moved.
Not yet.
Okay, so in Minneapolis and then Chicago. So I think at that time we were iterating through like taking a class together. We were doing like color studies. We were harvesting. We were eating. We were doing live painting. So I think really thinking about the skills we were wanting to build and like visioning and dreaming together of both like what we wanted our relationship to be, but also like what we wanted our lives, like our lives to be, because we were on the cusp of like almost turning 30. We were like 28, Saturn return-ish time. So we had done that, and it was so wonderful. And then years later, Tori, who is such an amazing researcher, definitely got us here, but had been like looking for opportunities, and then found this opportunity, and it seemed really, really perfect for us to do a very similar thing. So this week has definitely been Ori Retreat version 2, and we already have vision and plans for we would love to do this every 2 years to some degree, is to reconnect and spend intimate time and space together
as artists and collaborators.
Yes, exactly.
I'm really curious and inspired by the way that the two of you have adventured the land. You're illustrators, pen and ink and paint and all the rest of it, and there are grasses drying and leaves, and you've kind of danced with the land in a very particular way, and I'm curious how those two things integrate.
What did we do this week?
We danced a lot. I think so. Why Everwood seemed perfect for this iteration of the Ori retreat was that we both were entering a practice where we were making art with natural materials. We're both artists that investigate materiality in our work, but this is, I think, the first time that we are really saying that we want to pursue this practice of basket making with forged materials for Cori, and for me, natural dyes, pigment and ink practice, which for me was sprouted from my graduate research position at the Rhode Island School of Design's Nature Lab as the
Their nature lab.
Their nature lab. You have to come visit. We have an extra room if you want to stay in Providence, Rhode Island.
And it's connected with the design?
It is, yeah. So it's part of the
track.
school. Yeah.
Wow.
So we, as graduate students, we have to like work as, part of our financial aid package. And so I was really lucky to land an assistantship at the Nature Lab as the natural dyes, pigments, and inks research assistant. I was particularly drawn to it because of cultural reasons. So like both of my cultural heritage, Hmong and Korean, have a strong practice with indigo, other natural dyes, sewing, embroidery, these are all, and textiles, these are all things that I'm exploring in my own practice. So to have that position be open and interview it and get it was really awesome. And then I was like, Cori, we got to do this. And this is like, and I already like wrote papers about this because I'm in grad school. So I was like, I have like an application. Like, can you do, like, do you want to do this together?
But yeah, I mean, I would say that you were definitely starting to do a natural dye practice from the Nature Lab position, but already we had both been, I would say, artists who were seeking relationship with
the
land through different things. Like, I don't see you as being a natural dye artist.
Not yet.
And this, or that being like a mode of things that you
no.
create, as much as like I see it as an extension, the same as me for basket making, as us trying to build relationship with land from the people that we are. So like I came to basket making from like a desire to have a craft that was less in like commercial space. Like as an illustrator, I'm paid to push pixels, I'm paid to make images for people, and so that becomes something that's hard to see the value
Generationally.
Yes, or not even generationally, but I would say like the art becomes something that I make for other people versus like art that is a part of me being the act of creation and expression and me being myself. And so basket making just seems something entirely non-commercially viable that was just much more practice. And so coming from a place of like really trying to connect these like identities that I have and fostering in Chicago as a diasporic person, I kind of had these two lands that as I'm becoming an adult and becoming a queer person in Chicago that I'm holding, which is the lands around the lakes and the plains as being a very, very Midwest person. And then, relationship with islands, being Okinawan, Taiwanese, and Japanese, which are all, islands in the East China Sea. And so I would say trying to like learn from the practices of, I would say, Okinawan ancestors and different East Asian textile practices has been, I would say, like a way of connecting and grounding to both like my history and the place that I'm in at the same time. And so I've seen Tori do a lot of that as well. For me, it's a lot of the practices of weaving with the grasses and pine needles that I'm getting from when my mom goes on walks. She'll gather some materials and she'll give them to me for us to kind of like turn into baskets together. And so that's like a different way of me getting to know like the land with my mom, and then learning about gouache, which is like an Okinawan textile practice of using the inside of banana trees to create, like they spin their own fiber. It's extremely time intensive, and it's extremely dependent on the island and the place that they're in. Like it needs to be super humid so that the string doesn't snap because they're like twisting it together with their hands, like one fiber at a time. And so like those are things that, I think that I came here trying to connect for both me and the diaspora places that I'm holding, but then also, with my best friend and collaborator who I think is holding many lands in you as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you make it to the creek?
We never made it to the creek.
We gave up. Next time when we visit.
It's not easy.
No, we thought that we tried to cross the corn on the property in Everwood 2 times, and then both times felt extremely humbled by the corn. Yeah. And we were like, we shouldn't have underestimated the corn. And then we left and we were like, wow, we learned many lessons.
Yes.
The corn taught us a lot, and it reminded me that as much as I'm like, oh, I'm an island person, like I'm connected to the water and I love the islands, then I'm like, oh no, the corn is teaching me a lesson. Here in the Midwest, the corn had things to teach me. Mostly about knowing my boundaries.
What's the biggest difference between the Ori 2 and Ori 1?
So it's hilarious.
This is Ori T.
This is Ori T talking, reporting for duty. What's hilarious is that like Cori was taking continuing education classes from RISD, the school that I now attend. And that was my first time ever interacting with that institution, was because we were doing color studies based on this class you're taking, this online class you're taking. And I grew up, I think we have both, I don't know how you consider yourself, but I'm a self-taught illustrator, I'm a self-taught artist. Like, I didn't go to art school. I have artists in my family who encouraged me, but like a lot of what I did was through, my own research and through community learning too, learning from my community. So in that retreat, I learned from you about the different institutions that can like support you as an artist, which I think is the other thing that is different about this retreat, is like we wanted to be institutionally supported so that we don't always have to rely on our resources or our friends or our family to like do the work that we need to do as artists. And so we really ultimately appreciate that. It's felt so like so good to be here and like be held and taken care of, and just to like melt into the land and your hospitality, your radical hospitality. So like love Chicago, love your family, I love you, and it felt good to have that outside support and be validated, I think, in our practices too.
Totally.
Yeah.
I would also say that our art practices are much more complex. Like I feel like we've iterated one round of, for both of us at least, like one round through of like experimentation and trying new ideas and researching new stuff, compared to where we were working on before. And yeah, I don't consider myself a self-taught artist, as I like went to undergrad and had some arts education there, but studying anthropology too. And so I think that that the Ori retreat and the way I see our work becoming more complicated is just in like all of the connections that we're being able to make now in our work. I see you kind of connecting through your textile into like a lived practice of something that comes into your life in the act of embroidery, also tying in together your different ancestry with Hmong and Korean textile work. For me, I'm working more closely in Chicago, and also I'm incorporating different like layers of my family history as well, or like lessons that are being passed on from different artists that now I'm getting to meet in my 30s that I didn't before. So I just feel like we're both a lot more informed in our work, and have a direction that I think
feels unique to both of us, I think, and stronger
in different ways. But I feel really happy about the work that we're creating and iterating now.
How does place inform your work?
Place.
Good question.
How does Everwood live in this?
Well, in preparation for coming to this retreat, like we're talking about the Driftless region and the Midwest and home. And so like made sure to bring plant identification books that was specific to the upper Midwest, and like look up natural dyes that I like, things that I knew would be here, or when we went on our first walk, I was like, oh, that, like these are all things that live in this book of natural dyes. So the fact that like that I get to forage or harvest and take these materials back home with me and like dye embroidery thread or cloth or yarn, and like be able to use that in a future piece. Again, like we're talking about material culture, materiality, like it lives in the materials and it lives in the art. And I think another thing that's changed about our work is thinking like very much generationally, like
for sure.
wanting this work to live on beyond pushing pixels, being a digital artist and illustrator, creating things with their hands that can be touched and saved and kept and used. And
I think place is extremely important. Like I was really excited to come to the Driftless because I was explaining to Tori on the way here that Tori had been like, why is it called the Driftless? And I was like, there was a giant glacier and it covered all of the Midwest.
Water.
And it just to smush everything to create the flatlands that both of us are more familiar with, but then to like leave this lush area with the hills, it just feels like unique and like a way to access through time. And also I would say, like, while I was here, I was looking up and I was like, I don't totally know who were the native people who lived in this area, and I kind of like assumed that it was going to be Ho-Chunk people, because that's like who I'm more familiar with being in Wisconsin. And then also like we're so close to Minneapolis, where I feel like Dakota Anishinaabe people have been like there historically. But then I was looking it up and it said that this area was from historically Sioux land, and that was both surprising to me and also just like thinking about how unique the Midwest and the area around the Great Lakes were, and how fertile they were, and how many people, different peoples, and I'm coming from Chicago, which is Ottawa, Ojibwe, Potawatomi people, like everyone just kind of moved across this area. And I think, being in the mountains and like, I think thinking about the people who originally stewarded this place or moved through here or were using these plants ideally that we were using, or some that we weren't because, so there's so many invasives now. A big theme of what Tori and I talk about is like, what does it mean for us to be learning practices that are indigenous tools like basket making or natural dyeing or just using indigenous knowledge, learning with plants, learning plant knowledge, but as being folks who are visitors to this place and guests on this land and guests on literally your land as well. And yeah, I think that that's something that we've been really able to explore in our time here. We keep talking about it as we wander through the prairie paths and as we meet the different plants that some of them, there's wood sorrel all around your property, and we got to meet it on the prairie, we got to meet it in the forest. And wood sorrel is a plant that I have tattooed on my body because I have my Japanese mon tattooed on my body. Me and all my cousins and my siblings do, and it's of a wood sorrel because that is like a very common Japanese weed as well. So it's very familiar and cool to see that plant show up again and to think about the ways that hopefully the plant is not working to overtake the land, but to get to know the other plants and work with it. And we nibbled upon it as well. Farmer
edible.
friends, yes, it's an edible wood sorrel. It's very sour. I think poisonous if you eat too much, but that was one
You
of the
didn't tell
things
me
we
that.
did. I did tell you that. I told you don't eat. I said don't eat too much.
Art is dangerous.
Was that on the back? The wood sorrel, was it on the back?
The
or
wood
was
sorrel is everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
That's
It is a
interesting.
clover-looking leaf with 3 little circular petals, and then next to it or around it is a small yellow flower. And I see it in your lawn. It's in the garden. It grows on the sidewalk. It's like a very voracious and plentiful plant.
Did the goats help you this week at all?
Did the goats? Oh, did the goats help us? We had good moments with the goats.
Yes.
I don't know if they helped us.
I mean, I feel like they brought me joy. This is Tori. They brought me joy.
That helps.
I love their
Absolutely.
weird eyeballs.
They're
They look a little alien, don't they?
They're super alien, but I love them.
We had a baby get lost from the crew this morning. 6 of them followed us as we made our morning rounds, and the baby, one of them didn't.
Was not
So
paying
they were
attention.
on the
He was
opposite
like,
sides of, and I'm surprised it didn't wake you up. I don't know how early you rise, but she had a lot to say for about 10 minutes until she found the crew again. And
I did not hear.
Christopher basically guided her all the way back to the group.
Did you hear? You woke up hearing?
No, we were
We went-
actually out there with.
okay.
While we were walking around, like checking the fence, all the goats followed us,
But one.
except for the one little baby who was not paying attention
And that hasn't happened yet, where one
He
of them
was
got lost from
freaked
the flock.
out.
It was really loud. I can't believe you didn't hear it.
That's so funny. I'm a deep sleeper.
It kind of sounds like people are being mugged in our woods.
I think it's
A
more of
little
a
bit.
stabbing.
It's been a little.
That one was a stabbing.
It's
Yeah.
been freeing though. Like they'll yell, and then I'll like yell back at them, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I did need to yell. Back.
See, they did help.
Yeah. Oh, they did. They did.
They totally
I
helped.
think one of the big things that we wanted to do here was having practice, like
Yeah.
practices. So like part of our daily practice was like morning yoga. We'd do breakfast, morning yoga, peruse the property. Like we would talk to the moss on the tree stump out in front of the artist retreat space. The mosscape behind the barn. We talked to the goats and said hi if they were around and out. So they were part of our daily practice. So in that way, just like, and then I was like, oh my gosh, we're so busy. We have so much to do. We have so much to say hi to. We have to say hi to the bees. We have to say hi to the prairie, and it's amazing.
How did you get it all done?
It was.
don't
There was
know.
one day that I think we had significantly met the crabtree and the sumac.
We did.
And then we
did.
went home, and Tori passed out and took like this is Cori, and then took like a 3-hour nap. And I was just like, oh, we had such a social day. We did so much. We met so many people. It was hard, and so I was like, we need to rest.
You're going to be going home doing downward goat.
And start screaming.
Yeah,
That's
scream practice. We traditionally end our podcast, as you know.
But does Tori know? Do you know how we end it?
Oh my gosh, don't
We
put
end
me
with
on
the same question.
spot. No,
Perfect. I love it. Okay.
Okay, yeah,
I was going to switch it up if you did.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Okay.
All right. So the question for the two of you is, how have you experienced beauty today?
Today or this week?
Today.
Today, okay.
I can go.
Yeah. I was like, I have an answer.
I have an answer. So I experienced beauty today by being able to make art and collaborate with my best friend.
Yeah. Yes. Today we have like one activity that we've done every day. And so today we did figure drawing. And so Tori and I both got to spend time drawing and being drawn in this big, beautiful yard. And that was like, beautiful because Tori's beautiful. And then also because of like the moment. And just like, we kept being like, who else gets to do this?
Model for each other.
Yeah. So
And be both artist and muse at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
very special.
But was it truly at the same time? Were you being drawn and drawing?
No, we alternated.
You did alternate.
So you
okay.
pose in like a series of seconds. Like you do quick ones and you do long ones.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had breaks and stretches and snacks in between. But yeah, I think, again, symbolic of our relationships and the way that we switch
Helix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How
Thank
about
you
y'all?
both for being here
Thank you so much.
this
for
whole
having
week
us.
and for taking the leap of faith in the Driftless with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, we're happy.
Truly special.
Yeah, best Ori retreat yet.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Number
For
2 is the best.
I'm excited to hear about number 3. What that's going to be like.
Yeah, we'll report back.
Okay, please
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you.
so much. It's been really fun.
Thanks for listening to Conversations from the Barn at Everwood Farmstead. Our theme music is provided by John Mark Nelson. Wishing you all good health.